Hi everybody, this is Mike again, and we're going to do another quick video this morning, primarily on soldering, but I wanted to start out because at the last time when we were working on the project, somebody indicated that they were interested in a kit, a beginner's kit, because I know Kara had purchased one from me, and I get these from a friend of mine in South Carolina, and so he sells them to me for about $40. I think it's just a little over $40, so I sell them for $45 just to help cover the freight. But they come in these nice little boxes or little carrying cases, and inside you'll find a cutter, a pistol grip cutter, which is very comfortable, and I know at least two of you said that you like those a little bit better. This little guy I don't use, but others who like to use oil can. It's a little squeegee thing that you, or a teardropper or whatever you call it. You can suck some cutting oil in this and use that to periodically oil your cutter if that's the type of thing you do. I don't oil mine frequently, so it's not something I would use, but everybody's got their own style. Then of course there's a pair of the running pliers. It's got the rubber coating over the tops of them already, and it's got the line. I would recommend that you take a black Sharpie and mark that line so you make sure that you always break with the top up. And then of course a pair of the breaker Grozer pliers. And these are going to be a little bit stiff, so you might take a drop of 3-in-1 oil or WD-40 or something, but just a drop, and put it on there and then just loosen it up a little bit. So yeah, those kits are available. Like I said, $45. Just let me know and I'll make sure I get you one. So now we're going to get into talking about, we're going to solder. I've got my panel here ready to go, and I just wanted to go over some of the tools that we'll be using and what we're using them for. And so of course, because we're soldering, the first thing we'll talk about is the solder. And people who have taken classes before from me know that I highly recommend 50-50 solder for tack soldering, which is basically just spot soldering so the whole piece will hold itself together. And then 60-40 for putting the nice beads along the lines. It just shines up a little bit better. It's got a little bit higher gloss on it when you're finished. So that's what I recommend. 50-50 for tack soldering, 60-40 for the bead soldering. And then there's 3 different types of fluxes here, and each one of them works. People all over the world have preferences, and they'll go to their deathbed advocating for one or the other. I've used all 3, and I prefer actually the one in the middle, and I'll explain why in a minute. This is gel flux. This is the stuff that we have at the lab. It goes on very easily. A lot of people use a paintbrush, and I think that's what we have at the lab, is a couple of paintbrushes that you can use them over and over. You don't have to clean them when you're done. So gel flux is a little bit thicker consistency. This is water soluble. It's a little bit more liquid. I prefer it because it flows a little bit better. And it seems to cover where I need it to a little bit easier. The downside of this is that it does have some fumes that are a little bit offensive and not poisonous, but I think actually I'm going to take that back. I don't know if they're poisonous, but they're not good to breathe. I've been told that many times, and so for that reason I have this. And what this does is it's basically kind of like a reverse fan. It's sucking the solder fumes in through this filter, and so it basically cleans the air. You don't need that. You could just set up a little fan along the side that'll blow the fumes away. But anyway, I prefer this one. And then there is the Nokorod paste flux, which a lot of people swear by also. It's much thicker. It seems to spread a little bit further, but I'm not a fan of it, only for the reason that it takes a whole lot more work to clean it off once you're done. So this is my go-to. These other 2 will work, and if that's what you have to use, go ahead and use it. Back on the solder now, I want you to see here, I've got a little cup that I put all my solder ends. You know, sometimes there's little pieces that you can't hang on to, or you'll see me from time to time, I'll take my soldering iron to the side and I'll just kind of drop off the extra solder that's on there, and it ends up in kind of a little blob like this. And so what I do is I save that, because eventually when I get enough, I will put that in a little pot, melt it down, and I've got a little groove in a board that I can pour it in, so I can make my own solder rods out of this, and I'd end up not wasting. So that's why I use that. This little cup is where I put my soldering, or my flux. This is my flux brush. It's just basically a chemical brush that, as you can see, that one is well worn. This is what they look like when they're new. So this one's been, the one I'm using has been around a while, but I do keep spare. And this is called Quick Clean. And for the liquid patina, the stuff I use, this is adequate for cleaning it after you're done soldering. I have not had great success with Quick Clean for the paste flux or the gel flux, but your mileage may vary depending upon how you use it. But that's what I use to clean the flux off when I'm done here at my home studio. I can't remember, to be honest, whether we have that at the lab or not. I think I've seen some of it. So give it a try, decide if you like it. Then of course, here's my soldering iron. We use the Hako or Hako, I'm not sure exactly what the correct way to pronounce it, but it's a 601. The US version is a 601-02. And generally, we use this setting here at 410, which is Celsius, which equates to, I believe, 668 degrees Fahrenheit, thereabouts. So it's hot. So be very careful with your soldering iron. And one thing that I do, Debbie, if you could look over here, I've got a little timer here. I'm going to turn it on right now. I usually turn this on for a couple hours. It's set for 2 hours. And then this just automatically shuts off. So if I forget to shut it off, it automatically does, so I don't have a risk of fire. Close to done here with the tools, and a lot of these things are just things I have. Many people do not, but I use these little nitrile gloves while I'm soldering, just because I don't like to get the flux all over my hands. Some people say that it's not good for your skin. I haven't had problems with it, but it just makes it a whole lot easier to handle things if I do. So I wear these gloves, and you'll see I've got my piece here ready to go. So I'm going to move some of this other stuff out of the way, and in a little while we'll come back and we'll get busy soldering.